Your child's potential is limitless.
Being able to socialize, have relationships, and sustain ongoing relationships is fundamental and essential.
Your child might be asking you to make a bit more of a commitment, to really show them and give them that message that you are there to be close to them and that you have something in common with them. We actually see the ism, the repetitious behavior, as a doorway to expressing our warmth, our care, and our love.
Whatever you do, celebrate in a way that feels good to you and is from the heart and sincere. The more you celebrate your children, the more they will look at you.
Years ago, our son was diagnosed as severely autistic. We had a little boy who was developing in the way our two daughters were developing. And suddenly, at about 12 to 14 months old, he started to sort of slip away. He would look at us, smile at us. Before that, he would hug us. He would put his arms up when you went to reach him. And suddenly you'd go to reach him and he didn't put his arms up anymore. And suddenly you would go to look at him and he would look away. And suddenly, instead of playing with toys and blocks that he used to play with, he would suddenly just start to do these repetitive movements. The repetitive movements would be rocking back and forth. It would be flipping his fingers in front of his eyes. He used to have this thing where he'd love to spin anything that he could get a hold of, so he'd spin plates. He could actually, sincerely, he could take a tissue box and spin it on the corner. He would go to the bathroom and constantly flush the toilet and watch the water go down. And he would go like this, back and forth, and make very strange sounds. It was really clear to us we had a very unusually developing little boy. When he was diagnosed as having autism and severely autistic, and we watched the dropped faces, we read all the literature, and the level of pessimism, despair, and hopelessness sort of flew in the face of our experience of him. Because when we used to see him do these things, and my folks and other people in our family would be really uncomfortable even visiting us because this boy was so strange to them. Samari and I were really aware he looked like he was from the planet Mars. That was really clear. And yet, there was something serene about him. There was something beautiful about him. There was actually something, in some way, meditative about him. So when we read all the literature, and when we saw what people were doing with children, which was basically a process called at that time behavior modification, which was reward, punishment, aversion conditioning, that has sort of grown into something called applied behavior analysis, or ABA. We thought, wow, if I want to reach my child, that would never be the way to go. That would be the way to push our child away. So we actually originated a completely different program. And the program we originated, actually, instead of forcing and pushing him to be different, we actually decided to build a bridge into his world. And we decided to cross that bridge by actually not judging his behaviors, by doing something which was considered completely outrageous at the time, which was joining his behaviors. So let me tell you what it looked like, and Samaria was the first person who ever did that. Rocking with him as he rocked, flipping your hands when you flipped your hands, making those strange sounds, and people around us were saying, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? You're reinforcing this aberrant behavior. And we said, no, we're loving our child. We're trying to create a relationship with our child. We're trying to bond with our child. Actually, we're trying to understand our child. So what began with what seemed like a very, very unusual path to help our son ultimately developed into a very specific program, which we now call the Sunrise Program.